Hi, my name is Ashley Pratt, and I am an English and American Literature major. Today I will be presenting my research, The Exchange of Happiness. In 2011, SOCI et al. Revealed that Americans were unhappier in times of high income inequality, but the unhappiness of upper class Americans did not decrease compared to their lower class Americans. Furthermore, lower class Americans were not unhappy because they did not make enough money, but because of the perceived unfairness from periods of high income inequality. Atkin et al. Also reported that low-income Americans were unhappier than high-income Americans, yet their degree of unhappiness was usually exaggerated. In their nationwide survey, they asked high-income Americans to rate the level of happiness in low-income Americans and vice versa. Their findings reported that both groups rated each other's happiness either higher or lower than each other's average. But a study done by Lee revealed that money was linked to happiness from an economic perspective. A person that has enough money does not have to stress about making ends meet, in which they have more access to more resources. That does not include basic necessities such as leisure and entertainment. Next, my hypothesis is the more money a person makes, the less they have to worry about accessing their goods and necessities, thus increasing their happiness. This makes it a positive relationship because the more money they make, the more their happiness increases. Furthermore, I conducted a survey and one personal interview for my hypothesis. Some of my interesting findings were, while the majority of my respondents were employed, all of my respondents agreed that money increased their happiness for various reasons. In addition, the person that I interviewed shared a brief personal anecdote about their family and how they were able to afford what they needed, but they did not have any money left to buy what they wanted. In other words, having disposable income. Their interview also added a new perspective in my research because there was a point that I did not consider before, and that was taking into consideration the military population that attends UTEP that might also be unemployed and might also have a steady source of income, such as my interviewee. My biggest limitation was time because of the length of this online course, in which this project lasted approximately from January to April. In these 4 months, it did not give me the opportunity to gather more data. This prevents the possibility of collecting more comprehensive data that might change my findings in my surveys or in personal interviews. Aside from my limitations, a brief description of my experimental design that I used was a modified static group comparison, which included everything except for a random assignment because I used my demographic question of employed and unemployed to organize my control and experimental groups, which is why a random assignment is not necessary. Lastly, future researchers should modify my survey by adding more demographic questions that are relevant to the experiment, since age and sex only helped organize my data but did not play a larger role in my experiment. In addition, I would advise them to add more statements and questions for my unemployed participants. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time and attention.